Yasas. What happens when you take two vibrant brothers that are descendants from the Greeks in Constantinople, embracing their American roots, and then ask them to serve up rich tales of traditions, cuisine, childhood memories, and a hearty dose of humor? You're about to find out. This is Baklavine Banter, your passport to all things Greek.
Welcome to another episode of Baklavan Banter. I'm Petraki.
And I'm Soto.
So, what did you think about the weekend this weekend?
It was a good weekend. We got to hang out. We got to eat copious amounts of food.
We did. I flew
Hang
out
out by
to
the pool.
I flew out to the desert this weekend.
Yes, you did.
That being the Arizona desert, and it was
Correct.
hot. Listen, guys, I know how people say Greece is hot. This is hot, like the gates of hell hot. Okay,
Still low humidity though.
Yeah, when I'm dripping wet, there's no such thing as a dry humidity. But you know what I wanted to talk to you about since we were in Scottsdale. Now, I'm not going to give the name of the hotel or the establishment that we hung out this past Sunday at. But is there such thing as a Greek Karen?
A Greek Karen? Huh. I'm sure there is.
And what would she be called? Is she a Katerina?
Could be. I mean, you got your Maria. You got
but Maria's not a Karen though. That's the whole thing. Maria is one of these Maria. Maria belongs to the church. Maria works at the diner. Maria's not a Karen. And what would a Greek Karen talk about? It's kind of a rhetorical question, but for those of you that are watching this, we would love to know, especially those that are back in Greece, is there such thing as a Greek Karen? Like, what would that conversation look like? What would they be upset about? That they're double parked in Athens? Because everybody double parks in Athens.
Like somebody didn't make the proper frappe. They go into Starbucks thinking they're going to get a Greek frappe, and
I don't know.
Now, are you talking about this because you ran into a potential Greek Karen, or just because you were wondering?
Just because the plethora of Karens we ran to in the desert.
True. Yeah.
Okay. Arizona's like a breeding ground.
Well, not all of Arizona.
No.
Scottsdale is ground zero for sure.
It's like they flew in from LA and being like, we're going to take over the desert. Again, I don't want to put everybody in one basket, but sweet baby Jesus, let me just tell you something. Oh, you saw them, you know.
I know. It's a good question. I never thought of extending it across, ethnicity and so forth. But
yeah, because you never really see videos of the Karen of London or the Karens of Rome, or is Karen just specifically a U.S. thing?
Well, I was going to say, I think it may be unique to the.
But maybe there's another term that they use that they're not Karen.
Sure.
Maybe instead of Karens, they call them Mori. Look at
I think it's a good question. If anybody has a thought on it, love to hear from you.
Yeah, just let us know because I'm really interested in this. If this is actually just a U.S. phenomenon, or is it globally?
Yeah.
Are the Greeks in Australia, the Karens there, are different than the ones in Greece? Are they different than the one in Canada? What do they complain about Canada? That your moose is double parked? I would love to know about that. Stop throwing snowballs at my windows?
I don't know. It's a good question for sure.
Yeah. Let me segue into our top 5 lists of the week.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
This one's hard, man. I'm telling you right now. You got to put on. Number 1 will be very easy. And 2 is relatively easy, right. But 3, 4, and 5. So this is top 5 powerful gods on Mount Olympus.
Top 5 powerful gods. Most powerful gods.
Most powerful gods.
Okay.
So.
And this is based on. And this is based on. This is based on what?
This is just based on Greek mythology.
Okay. Well, obviously, number one, I'm going to go for the big guy himself, Zeus.
Yes. Number one, correct.
Okay.
Don't go
Uh,
Googling this because I see you looking at a screen over there.
I'm looking at my other notes.
Yeah, look at your other notes. Go ahead.
Poseidon. No,
I'm just making sure you're not looking on the screen there.
I'm just rattling off the gods that I
Yeah.
know off the top of my
Number
head.
two. Number two.
Okay.
By the way, Poseidon, god of the sea.
Right. Oh, so he's number two. Okay.
Number two.
Was does it include goddesses?
No,
Hmm.
there's no goddesses on the top five.
I think Athena would be a little peeved.
Yeah.
Hercules?
No, Hercules is top
I don't think
25, but he's not even top 10.
Okay. All right. Give me number three.
You want it?
Yeah.
You want me to tell you? Number three is Hades, king of the underworld.
Right. Okay.
You want the rest?
Yeah, you might as well.
These are tough. Number
Okay.
four, god of fire, Prometheus.
That one I should have known. Okay.
Yeah, but that's a tough one, though. I would never have guessed him.
Yeah.
Number five blew my freaking mind. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to give you a hint.
Okay.
In Roman, they call him Bacchus.
The god of wine.
Yeah. But what's his Greek name?
I don't know.
It's Dionysus.
Oh, Dionysus.
Tough. I'm telling you, this is like
That's
I don't know.
interesting. So
Right?
the guy with the booze comes in 5.
Yeah. Now I'm not going to drill down why that is. If you want to look him up, look it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing is.
Yeah.
So I was looking something up, and do you know who Zeus's number one arch nemesis is? Not necessarily a nemesis, but the one god that he's most fearful of.
No.
It's my cat's named after them.
Nixie?
Nyx, yeah. Goddess of the darkness.
Oh, goddess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one goddess that he's very afraid of. Crazy, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one to grow on, folks.
Yeah.
Here's your ancient Greek mythology.
So let's break it down. Let's break it down again. Number 5, most powerful god, Dionysus. 4, Prometheus. 3, Hades. 2 is Poseidon. And 1 is Zeus. That concludes our top 5 segment for today. Let's move on. Tough one. That was a tough one. I told you.
That was good. That was. I'm trying to think how it compares to the top 5 list of names that.
Yeah.
Now, what would be cool if you cross-reference that to see how many male names are also synonymous with God's names? Like, is there some kid running around whose name is Zeus?
Well, it's funny. The top 3 guys, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, their fathers were Titans.
Oh.
And they had to fight them to take control.
Yeah.
All 3 of them. And Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, when you think about it, one controlled the underworld, one controlled the ocean, the other one controlled, I guess, Earth, the rest of Earth. And they split up their powers in in a way they were kind of viewed as equals because they split it up into thirds.
Right.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So moving on, we have a brand new segment this week. I'll let you.
Brand new segment. So in keeping with, the whole Greeks heritage, Greeks in history theme, I thought I'd take a look at things that were discovered and or invented by Greeks. Now, there's a lot of stereotypes in here, ones that people know. Maybe Archimedes' screw, everything from the aqueduct to a level of automation to the bathtub. We can go on and on and on. but I thought I'd pick two. One that was ancient, that was discovered, invented in ancient Greece, that I thought was really neat, and then one fast forward in more modern times. So the first one is the vending machine. And so you go, I didn't know they had candy and soda back then. They didn't. Here's how this thing worked. So nowadays, vending machines, they're everywhere. You put money into the machine, swipe a credit card. You can basically purchase, purchase anything. But think about the first vending machine, which was invented about 2,000 years ago in ancient Greece. So here's the lay of the land. The inventor his name is Hero of Alexandria, right? He was an inventor, he was a scientist, he was a mathematician, and he was fascinated with things around him, right? So the vending machine is one of his inventions. He had a keen understanding and interest in mechanics, and he used that to develop a number of things. He was born in Alexandria, thus the name, um, in an influential Greek colony that was named after Alexander the Great around 10 AD. So, what's interesting about this machine is that it was coin operated even back then. And so, those ancient machines didn't dispense candy or snacks. The very first vending machine was used in a temple to dispense holy water. And I only laugh because it just seems so surreal. So when the right amount of change was put into the slot, the mouth of, at the bottom would open and holy water would dispense to be used in the temple. So here's how it basically worked. You put the proper coin into a slot. The coin would hit a pan, and then that pan was attached to a lever, and then when the coin hit, the lever would move. Once the lever moved, it opened a valve. The valve opened, water would dispense out. The water would stop dispensing after the coin fell from the pan. So as the pan started tilting, eventually the coin would slip off. And with no more weight on it, the pan would snap the valve closed, and that's it. So it was offered as a way for the temple to get some money while helping people worship. Not only that, but the design was so influential for our inventor Hero to show his true talent that he applied this knowledge to create a number of other things back then. So next time you use a vending machine, just remember, Greeks had something to do with it.
So hold on now.
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
Wait. So hold on. So what you're telling me now? Before there was Poland Springs, we had like the springs of like the Oracle at Delphi. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like, how did that work? Like, were people like, "Hey, does anybody have a gold coin? I need some holy water." Like, was there a guy there that with like, the little change dispenser things? Like, you gave him like, uh, you know, like a big gold coin, and he gave you a little change, and pushed
I,
it
I,
out, and the thing came out.
I would love to hear from somebody who studies archaeology like this and ancient Greek history to um, to give us the details. I didn't find what the coin was. I did read in my research that it had to be the right kind of coin. So, there was some thought to people putting in, um, I guess fake coins.
Well,
Um,
in order for them to know this, they must have found this vending machine somewhere.
yeah, I think as with a lot of things, they found relics of it in in ancient Greece and so forth. And I'm pretty sure that from ancient Greece, it probably made its way to Rome, where the Romans probably
So, how do
enhanced
we
it.
know it was water?
Um,
How do
I,
we know it wasn't wine? Isn't there like a guy, like someone going around there and like, guys, you know what I feel like? Anybody
I'm
feel like a little Regina?
yeah, I'm
Like,
guess I'm guessing it's probably through writings that correspond with this, where they talk about it. Because
please
obviously,
don't tell me these Paul letters to the Corinthians, because you know how I feel about these letters.
well,
You
I'm
know,
I'm I'm just reporting what I found, and
yeah.
I thought vending machines were kind of cool.
No,
So
it's when you
there
think about it,
there you have it.
when you think about technology evolving from 3,000-year-old technology at the end of the day
Right.
4,000 years old,
Right.
to the vending machines that you have in Korea or Japan, where they're dispensing everything and anything in
Right.
them. They actually live out of vending machines there. It's kind of like ingenious, like
Yeah.
anything else that came out of ancient Greece.
Right.
For uh, a, a, a people to have such technology uh, to able to be developed, or the sense, the knowledge to know how to develop it, is just incredible to me.
Yeah. I
Now,
mean,
we all know that aliens didn't visit Greece, so we're not talking Egypt here, you know.
right.
Because the minute they landed, do you know what, like, the Greek word for aliens, blah blah blah. You know how that goes.
Right. Right.
They're like,
Exactly.
"Psh, we're out. Let's go hit Southern Mediterranean and go to Egypt instead. You
Yeah.
know?
These guys, we don't want to mess with. We don't want to mess with these people.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't take any crap.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there's other crazy stuff that you difficult to wrap your head around. The other one that I'll mention real quick is the elevator. And again,
yeah,
now in this case, the earliest known reference was in the works of a Roman architect, but it's reported, and I assume again they got it from the writing, that it was another invention that of Archimedes in
yeah. And I
terms of
think
being able to lift.
again, all everything, the technology within the ancient Greek communities, when you really drill down on it, it's all mathematic based.
Yeah, yeah,
When you talk about an elevator, you know, you got a pulley system with a counterweight. That's what it is.
right.
And I'm sure they wasn't necessarily for people, but it was probably for, like, building things like the Acropolis to get stone from ground level and up, and vice versa. Because if they're actually moving people, you would think that the Acropolis had an elevator. Hell, it needs an elevator now because that's hell of a hike. I'm just gonna tell you that. That's like when it's 120 in Athens and you're climbing up there. mm, I'm surprised there's not a water vending machine up there.
Well, clearly it's not stopping anybody since they had to put in restrictions because they were getting too many people, too many
Oh, you're talking about
tourists there.
the
But
time ticketing now,
at the Acropolis,
and I
it's
think
just
that just started yesterday, actually.
it's like all of a sudden people woke up and go, oh, this Acropolis thing is kind of neat. We should go visit it. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just joking. I know there's other things, but
you know,
um,
it's the tour groups. That's what it is, mostly tour groups, cruise ships that
yeah,
pull in.
yeah,
You got 1,500 people, 2,000 people off a cruise ship showing up, and they're like, it's so white. It's like,
yeah.
you know. So what was the other one you want to talk about?
So the other one, which again, this one speaks to the common theme that we've had through our episodes of the um, the entrepreneurs that, especially immigrants, Greek immigrants to this country, have been able to leverage. So this one is the BlackBerry, right? Remember the BlackBerry that we used to carry, at least from if you were in a work for a large company and so forth. So this was interesting for a number of reasons. So the businessman, the inventor, was Michal, and I'm sure it's Michalis, Mike Lazaridis, right? So Canadian businessman. Um, at one point, his net worth was close to 800 million. He was ranked as the 17th wealthiest Canadian and 651st wealthiest person in the world, and we're talking about the 2011 timeframe when BlackBerry was still going strong. So here's a couple of interesting things about Mike. He was born in Istanbul, Turkey. And we appreciate that with having come from Constantinople, which is now Istanbul. He was born to Pontic parents, which Pontic Greek parents, which have similarities with the heritage that we have going back to Constantinople. The original lineage of the family goes back to Chios, to the island of Chios. He was 5 years old when his family moved to Canada, to Windsor, Canada, and at the age of 12, he won a prize contest from the Windsor Public Library for having read every science book in the library. So obviously, from a young kid, very entrepreneurial. So fast forward, he was going to school. He was going to college for electrical engineering with an option in comp sci. He responds to a request for a proposal, an RFP for those that deal with those sort of things, from General Motors to develop a network computer control display system, right? And he wins the contract. He then drops out of the university that year that he wins the contract with 2 months before he graduates. He takes that contract, he gets a small government grant, and he gets a loan for some amount of money from his parents. And he and two other co founders launch Research in Motion, which was the parent company that then which initially they developed barcode technology for film. And then they took all the profits from that initial development and they poured it into wireless data transmission that eventually led to the BlackBerry wireless mobile device in 1999, and then the more well-known version, which is about 2002. But I just think it's one of those things that I think anybody who was in business, that was long, before the iPhone and those smartphones, that was the device. I remember I had a couple of different flavors, but I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I thought for a moment when he said at the age of 12 he was working since he was in Canada, he ended up working at Dancing Zorbas, but you know, half, luckily he made the right career choice in this. Like we were talking before, I know you haven't seen it, but there is a movie Blackberry that really dives into this, and the title of the movie is Blackberry.
Yeah.
That dives into this really well and talk about the rise and fall of BlackBerry as we knew it to what it is today, which today is just a shell of a company that it was 20 years ago. But the big thing that made BlackBerry was their encryption within their in their email systems. So much so that with President Obama, he insisted that it his BlackBerry. But I think they had the NSA added another layer to security so it can, for surely being hacked, not being hacked. But again, did you ever think like, was BlackBerry called, you know, in Greece, was it called BlackBerry? Or is it called like Mavromuro, which is Muro is the word for berry.
Yeah.
It's like an elber. So like, the people in the Greece were going like, oh, ti telefono έχεις? Oh,
Right.
Apple. Oh, Samsung. Mavromuro. Like you would
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
especially in Canada, like in Toronto, and I'm trying to were they I'm not quite sure where they were um based out of in Canada.
Oh, I think it was based out of
Was it
Waterloo, if I'm not
Toronto?
mistaken. I think it was based out of Waterloo.
Waterloo. But I'm not sure where Waterloo
Yeah,
is.
Waterloo, Canada, which is. Let me take a quick looky here.
Is it
Yeah,
Ontario? Is it
it's
Montreal?
no, it's its own.
Home
It's
Providence?
north. It's northwest of Niagara Falls.
Okay, okay.
Um,
So it's near Toronto then.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And like Waterloo, just like Napoleon lost at Waterloo, good
yeah.
old
It's
Mike lost at Waterloo too.
yeah. It's southwest of Toronto.
Okay. Which kind
So,
of makes
but
sense if his parents immigrated to Canada, where they're going to end up going.
yeah, which is another interesting thing. I don't know if we ever. I think we talked about it when we were talking about the cast, Nia Vardalos and a lot of the cast for My Big Fat Greek Wedding are all
Yeah,
Greek Canadian. So there's a
yeah,
huge diaspora of immigrants that we know the immigrants that came into the U.S. through New York and so forth, but there was also a huge um, population that came in through Canada and then eventually made their way, depending on
yeah.
the roles and so forth, down into the U.S. So
I'm thinking about this. I'm going back to think about this holy water vending machine. And my thing is, okay, if would it's not improbable to think that every temple had these,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I would think that just based on the fact that they figured, why would a temple do this? And that maybe the driver was, hey, we can make, we can raise some money while we provide a service to, for ritual washings and other things,
Yeah, but
right?
yeah. So you bring that technology to the U.S. and you fill them with cigarettes. Like, do you ever think like the you know how vending machines now you put in your money in, right? Let's say like it's
Yeah,
for like snacks, and there you have the screw, which is almost like an Archimedes screw
right,
that turns and it dispenses the product down. Do you think back then when the water didn't come out, they would kick the vending machine?
right.
do you
Topple it
think?
over.
Do you think there was somebody there hitting it? Oh, come on! I need my holy water today. Come on, man.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I did also see. You just reminded me. In the 1600s,
Yeah,
there was and again, I'm assuming in this case they probably found artifacts and so forth. There was a vending machine that dispensed snuff and tobacco when you entered money. Um,
interesting.
but the difference to that one was it actually allowed you. It was almost based on an honor system because it allowed you full access to the various tobaccos, so you could pick your own.
Yeah,
But it required you to put money in, open it up, and then grab whatever you're going to grab. So it's interesting to see how the idea started with, in this case, holy water, and then evolved to what we have today. And now, if you look at the vending machines that they have, um, especially in Japan and some areas in Europe, you can get a steak
yeah.
out of a vending machine. I mean, it's
You,
crazy.
you can get 2x4s to build your house. Toilet seat covers. You can buy
Right,
your underwear
exactly.
through vending machines.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much anything. But
Noodles.
started 2,000 years ago, so I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I just like when you kind of drill down, like I said, a little further. You take technology that was 3,000 years old, you put it into modern society, you give it an upgrade, and you kind of see the transition where it goes. Because then if you look at early 20th century,
Yeah,
you had vending machines that, the beginning of vending machines dispensing Coke,
right,
you know.
right.
Now those machines, if you have like an original antique, those are worth a lot of money. That's why I'm wondering, like, how many of these vending machines in ancient Greece still exist? Are they located? Is there like um is there like ancient world pawn stars where somebody brings in a vending machine and they're like, "Hey, how much is this thing worth?" They're like, "Oh, let's take a look." And "Oh my God, this belonged to so and so. The Temple of Athena and this and that." You know, but 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 anyways,
We just had
but
a slight
I'm
incursion.
just curious.
We
I'm
had
just I
we had
I
a
say
slight
that.
incursion into the
Yeah,
homeland.
yeah. I de Mori, and
Yeah,
but I just think that the technology like that, when you look at it and you look at how it evolved, because at the end of the day, there's been some slight changes to them, but the functionality of it is relatively the same. You put
yeah,
money into a machine to get a product.
right.
That's that's the whole thing. And of course, during the time, those products have changed.
Sure.
you know. But it's funny because even though you talk about water now, there's a lot of places. Some of like the Sam's Clubs, they have like well water
Right.
that you can actually bring in a 5-gallon jug in, and I know other places do it as well. and you pay whatever X amount of money, and you can fill a 5 gallon jug. So it's really no different than that at the end of the day, uh, other than the fact that Sam Walton blessed it and not the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Well, and,
You
and
know?
again, you kind of you expect that type of stuff today, but it's amazing the foresight and the ingenuity 2,000 years ago.
Yeah,
With again so many various Greek inventors
yeah,
and so forth to be able to have thought, what
yeah.
happens if we set this up? But
Can you imagine going back into the future
yeah,
and you bring back with
going
you?
back to the past, you mean?
That's what I meant. Yeah, go
Yeah,
back to the past and
yeah.
you bring a little packet of like what is that stuff? Hawaiian punch mix with you, or Kool Aid, and they're like, "Oh, this magical thing! It turns water into wine." Ooh, it's so berry. What is it? So tropical? Can you imagine? Like, can you imagine? Like, my favorite letters, Paul's letter to the Corinthians.
Yeah,
Guys, let me tell you something. We met a guy on the road. He had this magical fairy dust, and he put it into water, and it became this. The Boone's Farm of ancient times.
yeah. It's crazy. I'm not sure. I think it's probably a good thing that you and I can go to the past, because they would be
Yeah,
there would be Greek writing somewhere with like the Kool-Aid guy on it.
exactly. Kool Aid or the Hawaiian Punch guy, hey, hey, hey,
Exactly.
running through the thing. Why is this like figure with like a tropical hat on, like a crown, whatever was the Hawaiian
Right.
Punch guy? I'm like, oh, this is like Boone's Farm, 1500 BC, and if
Yeah.
instead of a farm, there'd be like a picture of a temple on there,
Right.
Athena's farm or Apollo's farm or
Right.
something like that. But all right, guys, listen, this concludes our episode of Baklava and Banter. Until next time, I'm Petraki.
And I'm Soto.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.